everybody. Welcome to People of Interest, remotely. This is a first for me. I used to do this live, and hopefully some of you saw it live, and if this is your first time seeing it, welcome. So the way the show works is I've written the descriptions for 4 very interesting characters. I've got 4 very interesting performers waiting in the wings who are going to perform those characters while I interview them. The catch is they have no idea what I've written, and they're not going to find out until I'm reading it to you, the audience. And then they're going to have to react. So that's sort of the whole gist of it. It should be a lot of fun. Let me tell you who's here tonight. We've got Noah Levine, and he's currently in South Philadelphia. So give it up for him. I know if you want to applaud at home, that's great. We encourage it, but I don't know if you are, so don't feel like you have to. All the way from Los Angeles, California, Ashley Fee is here. She's great. We've got Shannon Devido, who's currently in Holland, Pennsylvania, which is up past Feasterville, so that's really far away too, if you're in the Philadelphia area. And then Nick Gillette, who usually lives down the street from me, but he's in Lewis, Delaware right now, which is also really far away. Okay, so thank you again for everyone who's starting. One more thing, just to keep you interested and engaged, if you have a question for one of the guests, type it into the chat, and then we might use your question. I might ask your question to the guest, so that's fun. If you don't want to do it, that's fine too. If we don't use your question, that doesn't mean it wasn't a good question. It just means that I didn't get to it. So everyone here is very smart and charming. Okay, so now, as always, before we get started, here are today's headlines from our very own Neil Bardhan.
Good evening. For POI News, I'm Neil Bardhan. It is 8:41 and a very chilly 45 degrees in South Philadelphia. Yes, it's technically spring, but nothing this spring is normal, or haven't you noticed? It was Democratic primary day in Wisconsin this past Tuesday. Voters stood in exceptionally long lines, thanks in part to physical distancing measures. Adding to the frustrations of the day, the state's Republican-controlled legislature blocked an executive order that would have necessitated a mail-in vote. Party officials stated, "Let's all remember, the real danger in the state is cholesterol, not anything we do." The documentary Tiger King has been topping Netflix ratings for the past several weeks. A film that features one-time presidential candidate Joe Exotic from Oklahoma, it depicts controversy and crime within the world of big cats and the people who create tourist-focused zoos around such cats. Mr. Exotic has recently filed a $94 million lawsuit against the federal government, specifically the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The film doesn't cover this suit, but let's be honest, that's how you know this guy, Joe Exotic, is out of his mind bonkers. Who thinks that there's any money left in the Trump administration Department of the Interior? In other animal news, Animal Crossing New Horizons is a hot new video game. In this game, players run errands, tend to their avatars' islands' natural resources, and have visitors stop by. If this sounds like fun, you may not actually like video games. You may just miss what life was like in 2019. Well, that's all the headlines that we can have fun with here this week. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's broadcast. For POI News, I am Neil Bardhan. Zoom video communication supports people of interest. Whether you're hosting an important business meeting or a virtual sex party, with Zoom you can ensure that you'll never have to wear pants ever again.
Mike Hulkins dedicated his life to encouraging people to get into gaming. Not just video games, but board games, card games, party games, any kind of game. His philosophy was that if everyone started playing games, the world would become a more connected place and there would be nothing that we all couldn't accomplish. Well, it seems that Hulkins has finally gotten to live his dream. To deal with the quarantine, people who have never much had any interest in gaming are now becoming hardcore gamers. From playing party games like Heads Up over video chat to the latest Animal Crossing game, you'll find brand new gamers everywhere. Unfortunately for Hulkins, that dream has become a nightmare. Now that Hulkins is actually interacting with all these new gamers, he's finding they aren't taking these games seriously enough. Now he's struggling to deal with Scrabble players who constantly try to include dirty words, to remote Dungeons and Dragons games in which all the players are constantly breaking character. Hulkins joins us here tonight to encourage everyone to just go back to talking to each other or whatever they used to do. Mike Hulkins, welcome.
Thank you so much for allowing me here to promote these very important causes. I think people that are new to gaming don't understand that it's not just a distraction, it's also a way of life. If you've ever seen a D&D 5th edition rulebook, it is full of the rules and regulations. You can't just cast a magic missile on a Hydra and expect to knock off all of its heads. There are procedures here that we need to follow. And no offense, but there are other activities you can get up to if just gaming isn't for you.
Well, I mean, I think everyone's got to start somewhere. Like, aren't you, at least glad that people are kind of taking those first steps, or has it just been too annoying?
Well, there's a difference between taking a first steps and throwing your first bingo out on a Scrabble board, where, yes, you've been saving those 2 blanks the whole game, and yes, all you've been doing is turning back your tiles, and these are the first points that you've made all game, but hey, at least you spelled Hooters with 2 S's.
So so what was it first like when the gamers started, sort of piling, all the new gamers started showing up? It must have been a couple weeks ago. What was that initial experience like?
Well, we've been having our regular session in the tabletop simulator, and we've been posting an open link on the internet for, I would say, 3 years now, just for people to drop in. And it was last Friday night, and I was there with Gary and Rachel and Louise, and we were just about to start our game. 10 people joined in, and they hadn't watched the YouTube tutorial videos. 3 of them were eating chips. They were Cheetos. Now, I know you're not touching the real game pieces, so there's nothing to get greasy, but you're still going to be touching something. And I think in the spirit of gameplay and gamesmanship, we should consider game-approved snacks. Now, the Board Game Association of America does approve dry celery, wilted carrots, and just if you take the Chex out of Chex Mix.
Not Chex, but you have to actually have Chex Mix and then remove the Chex from it.
I imagine you could do Chex, but there's less flavor, is what I'm led to believe.
Oh. Well, that makes sense. So obviously, you're having trouble in the board game realm, which everyone's really getting into. But can you tell us a little bit about video games? I would assume it's a little, it's harder to cheat in video games. It's kind of a square box they put you in.
I was listening to your newsreader talk about Animal Crossing, and some people do play it as kind of a casual life simulator, but you may not know that it's actually a serious game about economic development. From planting the correct variety of fruit on your island to trading with people all around the world, and every week participating in the stock market. That's a real thing from the game where you can sell turnips. And I think there are people out here that are just, honestly, they're making lewd drawings when they should be making Excel spreadsheets.
How do you make lewd drawings? And I'm sorry, I'm not very familiar with Animal Crossing. How do you make lewd drawings?
There is a custom feature. So if you want your character to have a T-shirt and you say, want that T-shirt to reference your favorite Animal Crossing character, Tom Nook, or Mr. Rossetti, you can draw a picture of them and it'll show up on your shirt. But some people, they haven't been drawing Animal Crossing characters at all.
Oh, I'll leave it at that. So what are you doing to, you've spent, your whole life trying to encourage gaming. What are you now trying to do to discourage gaming?
Well, we've started a campaign campaign. We've been buying some airtime on a couple of different radio stations in some of the metro areas. And we're doing an ad campaign with a D&D warrior who is standing in a backyard and planting some flowers. And the campaign is called Real Parties Go to Garden Parties, which I think is really relatable for people to understand why you should party in your garden and not at our D&D table where we're already 12th level mages.
So, are you encouraging people to have parties right now?
Oh, well, in the sense that one person in a garden planting, I don't know, what are flowers? In D&D, there's the fire flower. So the people are probably planting those in their gardens.
Like in Super Mario, fire flowers?
Well, those are flowers that give you firepower and allow you to shoot fireballs. These are flowers entirely made out of fire. And you have to tend to them with the flame water from the 7th level dungeon of the dwarf king Morzicon.
Wait, okay, so there's a difference between, so what, they don't do anything, the fire flowers.
Oh, you grow them,
but you don't get fire powers.
No, you get burnt.
Oh,
because they are made of flames.
Could I get fire powers? Like what do I have to do to get fire powers at this point?
Well, you're looking maybe at a casting class, so that you could pick up some fire magic spells, or perhaps a race that naturally is prone to breathe fire, such as a dragonborn. So as, say, a child of a dragon, you may pick up some abilities from your dragon parents, most commonly fire breathing, treasure hoarding, but occasionally you just get scaly under the arms.
We have a question from the audience.
Oh dear.
So the question is, what are your suggested steps for becoming a serious gamer? We all have plenty of time to get to your level if that is possible.
Right. So there is, if you enroll through the Online Institute of Serious Gaming, or OISG, there is a 40 series lecture course with a series of online quizzes. They're all taught by our very famous game instructor who lives, of course, in the middle of Wisconsin, Sharonson, who is just prominent. The way she talks about games, when she just talks about them, you feel like you're playing them, which honestly is almost better than playing them. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I don't know necessarily that it does. Well, it seems like you've got quite a bit of, work on your hands since everyone's, really just looking to pass the time. Let's see. We've got one more question from the audience.
Okay.
Oh, has there been any development towards a social distancing video game?
Right. I think a lot of us who, I would commonly go to stores to purchase more games of various kinds. I would buy certainly food to eat, and now I've maintained social distance. And I think it's very disturbing when you go into some of these video games and people are standing right next to you in that digital world. So what we're seeing now is some new video games coming out that are built with social distancing in mind. So there's one called World of Warcraft Distancing. And if you walk within a 6-foot radius of another character, an alarm starts to sound, and your health starts to decrease.
Oh. Well, that's, I think, a good way to practice everything. Just really quick, do you have one last push to tell everyone to stop gaming?
Yes. As you have learned, if you got to the end of Super Mario Odyssey and you got all the way up to the moon, there's really incredible things in the night sky. Go to Amazon.com, order a telescope. As Super Mario would say, power up in the sky.
Okay. Mike Hulkins, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Amazon supports people of interest. Is Jeff Bezos turning into a Captain Planet-esque supervillain who is needlessly mistreating his employees? Yes. Can you live without Amazon Prime? No. Your move, hotshot.
In November 2019, Joe Gaetti's friends all told her she was crazy. She had quit her job as a real estate agent to follow her dreams of creating and selling artisanal toilet paper. Her goal was to reinvent what toilet paper could be. She created toilet paper covered in beautiful murals and poems, toilet paper made from interesting fabrics like tweed and gingham, and toilet paper that was sculpted from bronze. At first, just selling the paper through Etsy, her business struggled, and in February, she began to wonder if she might have to give up on her dream. Then sometime in mid-March, demand for her toilet paper skyrocketed. She now has so much volume that she set up her own website, hired several employees to make more toilet paper from her designs, just to keep up with demand. Gaetti joins us here tonight to tell us about her success, what her long-term plans are, and to talk about the feedback she's gotten from her customers. Joe Gaetti, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, first of all, congratulations on your business. That's very exciting. I'm sure you didn't see this coming.
I don't think anyone saw this coming. Who knew that people needed to use the bathroom a lot during a quarantine and thought that, they would have toilet paper? No one saw it coming,
Right. So, are you worried at all that, the people are just flocking to your toilet paper just because there's such a lack of availability elsewhere? Or do you think people are just genuinely interested, in trying a new kind of toilet paper?
That's a really good question. I think people, now that they're spending more time in their homes, are really taking a look at what's around them, really understanding their surroundings. And one of the things, I don't think you know this, but we spend a third of our lifetime in the bathroom. So if you're spending that time in the bathroom, you're looking around, you're saying, I don't know if I want to put that on my body, or yes, I want to put that on my body. People are going to look around for better options. No one wants sandpaper on their ass. People want other faces or flowers on their ass.
That's valid. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people are looking around. I do wonder, though, about sort of the, I guess one of my biggest questions is you're creating this, artwork really, and then people are wiping their butts with it and flushing it down the toilet. Does that bother you at all, or is it, just sort of you're creating it and then it washes away like the sands of time?
People ask me that all the time, but actually it's really a metaphor that we create things that we just shit all over and throw away. So, you have shower thoughts, but you also have toilet thoughts. So I thought giving people art that they could wipe their asses with and then flush down the toilet that they spend a lot of money on would make them think about their consumerism and the issues we have in this country. It's been a hefty political stance to carry on my shoulders, but I'm doing it for a good cause.
Do you think you've been successful? Do you think people are considering these, reconsidering their, consumerism? Have you gotten that feedback?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think this is working yet. Most of my requests, so I've started doing more personalized toilet paper rather than just general novelty. I'm getting a lot of ex-husbands, the president, the Pope, weirdly enough. But you know what? If people want it, Joe Exotic is a big one now. I've been getting a lot of that. People want, to rub their butts with Joe Exotic. That's not my problem. I'm here to create for them. So
one of the other things, though, so like the murals and the writings and the images and everything, I get that. But some of your other lines, the fabrics, the bronze, I feel like that wouldn't flush at all.
It will go down, but it won't go all the way down. and it might get stuck in your pipes and your pipes might burst. But before that happens, you're enjoying a gentle velvet cushion on your butt, making you feel like a king or queen that you are. So honestly, okay, full disclosure, my husband is a plumber. So, I just feel like since we're live, I'm just gonna be honest. So I've kind of made his business go up a little bit. But you know what? Like, people make choices and have to live with the consequences. So,
is there a particular fabric that's or material that's most popular among your customers?
Crushed velvet seems to be very popular right now. We've really gotten into the 70s and 80s, and I think people really want to bring those details into their bathroom. Your mom always had those special hand towels for guests and special soaps that you couldn't touch. I like to think that I'm providing luxury, ultra luxury fabric toilet paper that's just meant for guests or the queen. I even have crushed velvet toilet paper with the queen's face on it if you want to save that for when she visits.
Sure.
Yeah.
Totally. That makes sense.
Thank you.
So we have a couple of questions from the audience.
Sure.
So one audience member says, I recently heard buttholes are like snowflakes. Would you care to comment?
You know what? No one talks about their butthole as much as they should. Another reason why I went into this business, just for more awareness. But each butthole is very different. So later tonight, I want you to take a mirror and look at your butthole, maybe sketch it out. There's going to be different prongs and everything that come off of it. Then I want you to take a good look at your partner's butthole, maybe sketch that one too, and then compare them side to side. They're not going to be the same. We're all so different, that's the beauty of this. We're all so different, and you can use different toilet paper for your different buttholes.
Do you ever have customers send you, sketches of their buttholes to, and then, sort of tailor what you're creative to what their snowflake would be?
Yes, actually. So I'll have sketches sent, which is fine, but not everybody's the best artist, especially when it comes to drawing themselves. So I actually recommend that you come into my downtown office and we'll do a mold casting of your butthole. Then I'll put that into my system, which is a secret. I don't want to tell everybody because then everybody's going to get in the business, Right. And then I have an algorithm that analyzes every curvature, every fold. And then I get a survey of your current diet and your age. And where you live, actually, the humidity plays a big part. So just kind of work that all together, and then I'll deliver you the best toilet paper for your bottom.
All right. Wow. That's a really nice service there. So we have a couple more questions from the audience. We have a question. Do you have plans to put your work into underserved communities to enrich those who can't access art as easily?
That's a really good one. That's not something I have been able to do yet because it costs a lot of money to produce all of this luxury toilet paper. But I just came out with a new line that has gold threading in it that's been doing very well with the 1%. So they're quarantined too, and I've just been raking in the cash flow now, and I think that's a really good idea. And we're just going to start, bringing outside murals in. So when you're in the bathroom, no matter what or how much money you make, you get a little taste of that art you can wipe your butt with.
So who would you say is your main customer base? Like what is that? What does your typical customer look like?
I think most of my customers are millennials. They're a little bit older now, so they can afford some nicer toilet paper. But they also, man, do they love jokes. They love putting, political figures on it. Just anything that they like to wipe their ass with. I think a lot of it too is for like Instagram content. So they need more content, so they just order up special toilet paper, and it's been really trending on Instagram and TikTok. So who knew, you know?
Huh.
Yeah.
So one final question from the audience. I'm going to paraphrase this a bit, but with the rise of toilet paper shortages and the rise of bidets, are you worried that bidets and other ideas that people are using might be eating into your business?
A little bit. That is something that my development team and I have been discussing. But you know what? When you use a bidet, your tushy is still wet, and you're going to need to dry it with something. So I'm going to have a towel line, a tushy dabbing line. So you can buy something maybe even nicer fabric quality. I'm also looking into a bidet attachment. So normally you would attach the bidet into your water line, but I'm thinking maybe something more luxurious, like maybe you want champagne to squirt at your butt instead of, just water straight from the tap. Maybe you want sparkling water, still water, Coca-Cola, who am I to judge? But if you want something different, something a little fun, stay tuned, follow us, and we'll announce it.
Okay. Well, Joe Gillette, thank you so much for being here, and congratulations again on your business.
Thank you so much.
People of Interest is supported by PBS Kids. We are the only ones out here providing free educational content and games that keep your toddlers engaged and entertained while you work. Plus, we actually teach them empathy and positive mental health, so they don't grow up to become complete shitheels. So maybe let's keep that in mind when your local PBS station asks you for donations this year, huh?
As everyone has taken to remote communication, a sinister new trend has arisen called Zoom bombing. Zoom bombing, to those who are unfamiliar, is the practice of logging into unsecure Zoom meetings that you aren't affiliated with and then doing something to disrupt the meeting, usually in a crude or incredibly inappropriate fashion. While these actions are usually malicious and intended to wreak havoc, one person is trying to use the practice of Zoom bombing for good, or at least for her own personal gain. Karen Cartwright is a struggling singer and actress who has taken to sneaking into Zoom concerts and performances in the hopes of increasing her profile. If there's a Zoom featuring a lot of musicians or actors, chances are she's in there somewhere. She's crashed everything from the cast of Hamilton performing for John Krasinski's web show to high school choir practices and table reads of upcoming TV shows. Cartwright joins us here to tell us how her plan is working so far and what successes and repercussions she's been seeing. Karen Cartwright, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is great. I didn't have to bomb this one.
Yeah. So is it refreshing to be invited for once?
It is kind of a nice change, but it's not the same thrill. But I'm hoping to work up to that in the future.
So where did you get this idea in the first place? I mean, it seems like it takes a lot of guts to just sort of start sneaking into the London Philharmonic performing, a selection from Phantom of the Opera.
Sure. Yeah, that one was incredible. I mean, those high notes, I did not hit them, but I tried. I think that this profession is all about putting yourself out there, right? And really just allowing yourself to take risks. If you don't take risks, how are you going to be successful? This business is like 1% talent and like 100%. That's bad math, but I'm an actor, so it's like I'm not great at math. But anyway, it's about taking risks. And so I just thought, well, if other people can bomb Zoom, why can't I? So I did, and it's been exciting, and I'm just really looking forward to like what I can bomb next.
So, what is your favorite? I guess one that you've bombed so far.
Well, joining the cast of Hamilton, where do you go from there, right? You can see me if you watch it, you can see me very quickly. They didn't really edit me out. So I'm in there.
They have like the collage of everyone.
Yeah. In the collage. Yeah. It's ridiculous. So So that was really cool. Let's see, what else was really cool? I bombed a Coldplay concert. That was really neat. They didn't like that. So yeah, but it was fun. I mean, they've all been fun. Coldplay was weird. Hamilton, definitely the best. I'm just going to put it out there. Definitely.
So how, I'm guessing, you know, the reactions from the artists have been a little chilly. They haven't really warmed up to this.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, listen, no one in this industry likes when people take time away from them, right? Because we get into it because we're really all narcissists and in our own way. And I'm just the one that can admit it. Not everybody can admit that they are, but I can. And so, you know, they don't like that people are like taking some time away or they're trying to like steal their thunder. But I think that this is a time for us all to collaborate. And I think that if they just really got down to it, that they would just feel like, oh, I'm giving someone else a platform. I'm using my platform to give someone else an opportunity to grow and become as famous as I am. Like, I don't know why they're not just allowing that to happen. Because if I was super famous, I would love for someone new to come in and like just show their talent. I'd be honored.
So have you gotten any like positive reactions at all, or has it all been negative?
I've gotten some positive reaction in that like people will say things like, oh, you're doing it. You did it. You did it. Which I think, you know, honestly, when you break that down, it's like, yeah, I did. Yeah, I totally did do it. So I take it as a compliment.
So we had a couple of questions from the audience. What kind of warm-ups do you do? Like, how do you psych yourself up before a Zoom bomb?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, the first thing I do is I do vocal warm-ups, just like everybody else. And then I do a mantra of like, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And then I put on a hockey mask, like a ski mask, like you do if you're going to rob a bank. And I like walk around my house and like try to sneak into rooms and try to scare my cats. And they don't usually move because they don't care because they're very old and but so that's how I just see if I can do it. And because they don't move, I feel really good about it. And then I'm able to go and do my work.
Yeah. Which is amazing.
Thanks.
So another question from the audience is they're wondering what upcoming Zoom bombs you have planned in case they could try to see you.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So I would tell you, but then they would know and then they would block me. So while I really appreciate it, I mean, honestly, just look for the biggest ones and I'll probably be there. A little tip. I'm not sure if you know about this, but Lady Gaga is having a big one. And I may or may not show up. I will show up. I will be there.
Do you have a song planned?
No, you know, all of my songs are improvised. I just kind of do as I feel. Like whatever show I'm attending, I try to like get it into that realm. Like if it, like for example, let's say if I like went to a Lady Gaga one, which I'm not saying I'm doing, but I'm probably going to do, I'm definitely going to do. I would try to like do something along the lines of like Poker Face or something like that.
Mm-hmm. What would your song be for this show if you had Zoom bombed it? Like or your act? I guess it's not necessarily always a song.
Sure. Let's see. What would I have done? I probably would have like pretended to be a host, right? Like I would have come on as a host. Like maybe I would have tried to be like Stephen Colbert or somebody like that. So like, and then start asking questions.
Like you would be like Kelly to my Regis, or like you would just try to supplant me as the host of the show?
Well, if you were into it, I would totally be your Kelly to your Regis. But yeah, I mean, I don't like to take over anybody else's Zoom. I just like to be part of it. So I would probably be like more of like a sideline reporter, like, hey, the audience is asking for these questions. But yeah, like I'd totally co-host with you.
I'm covered, but thank you for offering.
Sure, no problem. Well, and next time.
Yeah, next time. Do you have any? Do you, aside from your standard, acting and singing, have you attempted to bomb anything sort of out of the ordinary, like like one of like the Pope's masses, empty masses at the St. Peter's Basilica?
Does he do those?
Yeah, he's got an Easter Mass coming up this Sunday.
Really?
Yeah.
That's probably a pretty big audience.
Yeah, I mean, people all over the world are going to be watching that, I would imagine, because they can't go to church right now. And
right.
Then, I don't know what the singing situation is, but I'm sure someone has to sing.
I mean, people sing at church, yeah.
Yeah, they do. I mean, you might want to brush up. You can't sing Poker Face, but you could sing.
Well, I would probably sing like something popey. I mean, right. Yeah. Like, yeah, I could do it. Yeah. That's okay. Good to know. What? So we're just about out of time, but do you have any advice for anyone who's sort of considering to that they might be exploring this as a possible option for their own career advancement? I think that at the end of the day, you need to do you. And if bombing other people's Zooms will get you ahead, like let's say you're a business person and you want to bomb other people's meetings and give them like a marketing report, or you're like a plumber and you want to bomb people's meetings and talk about like how to get toilet paper that you bought from really rich people out of your toilet. Like, do you just do it, and then just be proud of the fact that you accomplished something in a time that is very difficult and everyone's having a hard time, but you did something, and that's all that matters.
That's really touching.
Thank
Karen
you.
Cartwright, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
People of Interest is supported by Facebook. Well. Look who's come crawling back to old Facebook to spread some pretty dubiously sourced coronavirus information they found. It's Mr. or Ms. I'm leaving Facebook because of all the fake news. Now give us all your data.
As the world struggles with social distancing and quarantines, many media outlets have turned to recluses who have shut themselves off from society, especially my next guest, Paul Luxer. 23 years ago, Luxer made the personal decision to move to a remote cabin in rural Appalachia and live off the land, having almost no interaction with anyone at all. As a result, he has become one of the most interviewed hermits in the world over the past few weeks. Luxer has been on The Today Show, Morning Edition, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and dozens of other shows around the world. He now joins us not to talk about best practices for social distancing. In fact, that's the last thing he wants to talk about. No, he would like to use People of Interest as a platform to tell the world to, quote, leave him the hell alone. He is completely worn down by the constant interviews and wants nothing more than peace and quiet. Now he has decided to suffer the irony of one last interview in the hopes that this will truly be his last interview. Paul Luxer, welcome.
Oh, hey, Ryan. Thank you. Thanks a lot for putting me through the mill.
So you've been everywhere. I mean, lately, like I feel like I can't turn on the TV or the radio without hearing your advice about social distancing.
They're not leaving me alone, Ryan. They all want to know, what is it like to be alone? And then they can't see the irony of asking that repeatedly.
So, was it sort of? I mean, was it when it first happened? Was it maybe a little bit fun to just kind of share your insight?
I broke a 23-year vow of silence. And it was only because I was caught off guard. One of the journalistic weasels made their way past my outer perimeter on the compound and asked me a question at a point-blank range, just snuck right up, and I reacted poorly, Ryan. I winged him with the elbow right into the nose bone. That poor journalist, I believe her name is Terry Gross, is in the hospital right now.
Oh.
And I feel dreadful about it.
So that's really why you've taken all comers on just out of that initial guilt?
Well, yeah, I'm just trying to explain what happened between it was between me and Terry Gross. And then NPR wants to know what happened, and then the Washington Post wants to know what happened, and everyone just wants to know. I said, and I'm very sorry. I feel like it was like a paparazzo, just singular at first.
Mm. So so they started coming hard and fast, and I mean, you are an expert on this of keeping, your distance from everyone and staying inside by yourself and whiling away the hours. Do you think that you've helped people by providing this service?
Not in the least. No. Have I helped? Gosh. No. No, if anything, I've hurt everyone by making them believe it's easy. It's hard, Ryan. It's not an easy thing. 23 years of solitude. All you people have to endure is a few weeks of your Netflix endless streams.
Why did you get into it, if I might ask?
Why did I get into isolation?
Yeah.
I made a faux pas once at a party. Someone had said, "Oh, hey," and I waved, believing that it was me that they were waving at, and it turns out there was someone in the Terry Gross zone right back here that they were actually waving at. And so I, of course, good-naturedly saw the light in their eyes die, Ryan. That waver knew they had been intercepted by a person they didn't know, and they crumbled by going like this. And then they went around me.
Oh.
And that's the end of that.
Well,
23 years ago.
I mean, it must be somewhat nice now to be, I guess like people are literally waving at you now. I mean, you're in the boat where people are reaching out to you personally. They want to talk to you, not someone in the Terry Gross zone.
Yeah, I guess so. But the first question they always ask is, what happened with Terry Gross?
I mean, I didn't ask that.
No, you didn't. Thank you for the tact and decorum. You're the only journalist of integrity in this entire Zoom room.
Thanks. I appreciate that. So obviously you must, obviously you've got an internet connection.
I built it out of my own materials.
Did you have you been sort of watching the world from a distance, or you're just kind of going online just to say order packages or things?
Oh no, I'm fully self-sufficient here. But the great irony of having broken social isolation is you can't put the genie back in the bottle. At this point, I actually have. Oh, who's this? Who's this? One of those journalists?
I think she's Zoom bombing us.
I'm being Zoom bombed.
Hi, I'm helping.
Help away.
Thanks, Karen. You could just Just why don't you check on the why don't you go into the chat, make sure everybody's is doing good in the chat.
Oh, okay. Okay, bye.
Thanks. You're doing great. Sorry about that. So so we have some questions from the audience, if you don't mind connecting with the audience a bit.
Please don't use that word. I will answer their questions, but I'm not going to connect to another gosh darn human in my life.
Gotcha. So first off, I think you've already answered this, but people are wondering if Amazon Prime delivers to hermits such as yourself.
They sent a drone after me.
Ooh.
And I'll tell you, the cost of that package was retrieved. The drone was not recoverable.
I see. I'll move on from that one.
I only have one thing that I cannot source myself, and that is original dubs of Sailor Moon. You can't make them yourself, you've got to order them from Japan. And that's the only reason I would ever go to the devil Bezos and ask him for his sweet nectar and have him send it to my home. I'm on the grid. Just
Gotcha.
one single point of data. This guy likes Sailor Moon.
And specifically the original dub and not the...
You can't listen to the American version. They edited the crap out of it.
Right, it changed the context.
Took not only the context, they took the heart out.
I understand.
Yeah, I don't know if you do, Ryan. I don't know if you do.
Maybe I don't. We have another question from a person who is viewing this remotely. What advice can you give to someone who once responded to a waiter that told them to enjoy their meal?
Move. Get out of there. There's no going back. You can't be forgiven for a faux pas of that magnitude. There's still settlable land in Northern California. No one will find you there. And if they do, well, then just don't make the same mistake again. Don't make the mistakes I made.
We've got a couple people wondering if you have any voice assistants like Alexa or Siri that you talk to, and does that count?
I do not have a digital one. However, I fashioned a small totem to keep myself company, which I've named Marilka.
What does Marilka mean?
Marilka is made of my own hair. It's a small doll, what the Nepalese would call a topek. It's a small doll that I've infused with my own life force and energy, and it communicates to me. But I don't expect it to do any shopping for me. That would be cruel.
Oh, I guess that would be tricky. Well, we're almost out of time, and hopefully this will be your last interview ever. Do you have any final parting words for the world?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm so sorry, Terry Gross. I didn't know you were back. I thought it could have been a bear or anyone else. I thought you could have been like a Hannity. Just want to drop an elbow down. I'm so sorry. Just Terry Gross. Everyone else, you can go to hell.
Well, Paul Luxor, thank you so much for being here. You've been great. Best of luck with never speaking to anyone ever again.
Mm-hmm.
And thank all of you for coming. I hope this went really well. If it did, it seems like it did in the chat, which I didn't get to read as much as I would have liked, but maybe I'll save it all and read it tonight while I go to bed. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the Philly Improv Theater for hosting this. This has been fantastic. This has been People of Interest, and I've been Ryan T. Barlow. Stay safe out there. Wash your hands, and go Zoom bomb somebody. But keep it classy. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.